In Renaissance Germany, few cities matched the energy and excitement of Augsburg. Markets overflowed with everything from ostrich eggs to skulls of saints. Ladies brought falcons to church. Hungarian cowboys drove cattle through the streets. If the emperor came to town, knights jousted in the squares. If a murderer was caught in the morning, a hanging followed in the afternoon for all to see. Augsburg had a high tolerance for sin. Beer flowed in the bathhouses as freely as in the taverns. The city not only allowed prostitution, but maintained the brothel. Jacob Fugger was born here in 1459. Augsburg was a textile town, and Fugger's family had grown rich buying cloth made by local weavers and selling it at fairs in Frankfurt, Cologne, and over the Alps in Venice. Fugger was the youngest of 7 boys. His father died when he was 10, and his mother took over the business. She had enough sons to work the fairs, bribe highway robbers, and inspect cloth in the bleaching fields, so she decided to take him away from the jousts and bathhouses and put him on a different course. She decided he should be a priest. It's hard to imagine that Fugger was happy about it. If his mother got her way and he went to the seminary, he would have to shave his head and surrender his cloak for the black robes of the Benedictines. He would have to learn Latin, read Aquinas, and say prayers 8 times a day, beginning with matins at 2 in the morning. The monks fended for themselves, so Fugger, as a monk, would have to do the same. He would have to thatch roofs and boil soap. Much of the work was drudgery, but if he wanted to become a parish priest, or better yet, a secretary in Rome, he had to pay his dues and do his chores. The school was in a 10th century monastery in the village of Herrieden. Near Nuremberg, Herrieden was a 4-day walk from Augsburg, or 2 days for those lucky enough to have a horse. Nothing ever happened in Herrieden, and even if it did, Fugger wouldn't be seeing it. Benedictines were an austere bunch, and seminarians stayed behind the walls. While there, Fugger would have to do something even more difficult than getting a haircut or comb wool. He would have to swear to a life of celibacy, obedience, and, in the ultimate irony, considering his future, poverty. There were 2 types of clerics. There were the conservatives, who blindly followed Rome, and reformers like Erasmus of Rotterdam, the greatest intellectual of the age, who sought to eradicate what had become an epidemic of corruption. We will never know what sort of priest Fugger would have become, because just before it was time for him to join the monks, Fugger's mother reconsidered. Fugger was now 14, and she decided she could use him after all. She asked the church to let Fugger out of his contract, freeing him for an apprenticeship and a life in trade. Years later, when Fugger was already rich, someone asked how long he planned to keep working. Fugger said no amount of money would satisfy him. No matter how much he had, he intended to make profits as long as he could.